Tonight, local historians get a pleasant surprise thanks to an unexpected honor from the UN.
The historical and cultural significance of the Beaumont Hamel Newfoundland Memorial in France has been recognized by the United Nations.
It shows the importance of our history and the importance of these men who went over there in World War I, left their home here in the North Atlantic, and a lot of them never returned.
I'll tell you that story coming up.
The program has been like a phenomenal success. It's very measurable.
Enticing people across the province to get to work. Government is using money as a motivator.
When people are walking on trailways through St. John's, they might notice some new signs.
If they're released into the environment, they can cause a lot of damage.
I'm Elizabeth Whitten, and I have that story coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, no one here in the province knew it was coming, not even historians. The Beaumont Hamel Newfoundland Memorial in France has been recognized by the United Nations. The sacred First World War battlefield and final resting place for so many from this province now has World Heritage status. Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports.
It was a call Gary Brown was not expecting. Word from another surprised local historian this morning that the Beaumont Hamel Newfoundland Memorial was granted World Heritage status by UNESCO.
Wow, I was just completely moved by it because it is so important.
The Commonwealth War Graves Commission announced it on its website on Wednesday. 51 cemeteries and memorial sites on the former Western Front in France and Belgium. A total of 139 locations connected to the First World War are now on the World Heritage List. Iconic places of remembrance like Vimy Ridge, Menin Gate, the Brooding Soldier, and the Beaumont Hamel Newfoundland Memorial, site of a July 1st, 1916 battle that devastated the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. Only 68 of the 800 who went into battle answered the roll call the next day. A defining moment in history, a calamity that still haunts the province.
I don't think there's any more sacred ground.
The scarred landscape and trenches remain untouched beneath a bed of grass. An imposing caribou statue, the regiment's emblem, at the heart of this lasting tribute to those who served during the First World War. And a plaque inscribed with the names of 820 Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who died during the war and had no known grave. Beaumont Hamel is one of the most visited memorials in northern France, and now its iconic status is protected by the United Nations.
It will bring renown and respect, more renown and more respect to the Beaumont Hamel.
Standing today in the shadow of a caribou statue at Bowring Park, a replica of the 5 monuments in France, Belgium, and a 6th in Turkey, these historians welcome the news.
Anything that is done to recognize the service and sacrifice of our soldiers during the First World War and after is very important. And of course, it's all about commemorating our dead so that we don't forget the atrocities of war.
With that UNESCO heritage status, I mean, that is something else. That is the cream of the crop. That is so important.
The Beaumont Hamel Memorial Site was unveiled in 1925, supervised by this man, Thomas Nangle, the regiment's chaplain during the war. Brown co-authored a book about Nangle called The Soldier Priest.
I guess as a Christian, I think he's up there looking down now, quite proud, and we are quite proud of him.
World Heritage status for Beaumont Hamel. It's a big deal, setting the stage for another important milestone next year, the 100th anniversary of the Newfoundland National War Memorial and the establishment of a tomb of the unknown soldier. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, a missing woman's car has been found near a talc mine in Conception Bay South. 79-year-old Anna Galton and her dog have been missing since early August. She was last seen driving the red 2013 Chevy Cruze that was found in CBS. Rovers Search and Rescue have been searching in the area. Crews have even drained parts of the mine to aid in the search. Galton is described as 5'4", 130 pounds with brown eyes and gray hair. The Transportation Safety Board has released its final report on a fatal plane crash in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Given a lack of information, the TSB says it can't say for sure what went wrong. The plane crashed in December during a landing near the airport. The TSB says the left wing struck the base of a tree, causing the craft to spin and travel tail first along the road. The 52-year-old pilot and a 45-year-old passenger, both from Switzerland, were airlifted to a waiting ambulance and taken to hospital. The pilot later died. The plane didn't have a flight data recorder or a cockpit voice recorder. The TSB found the plane was overloaded at takeoff by about 375 pounds and was overweight during landing, though officials can't say if that led to the loss of control. Well, the province is offering an incentive for those looking to return to the workforce. As Here and Now's Janelle Kelly reports, a pilot project has already helped dozens in St. John's get back on the job, and soon people across the province can take part.
The province launched its income support pilot project in January. Since then, more than 170 people around St. John's have made use of it. The Minister of Social Development calls that a success, saying 40 of them are no longer in need of income support.
Expanding it, as fast as we can throughout the whole province, because we found something that's actually working, and we don't want to stop. Once the ball gets rolling, we want to keep it rolling.
It works like this. Anyone receiving income support who begins a new job or continues to work will get a payment from government. $250 at 6 months, $500 1 year into their job, and $1,000 once they hit the 2-year mark.
By us providing one-time payment to these participants to help get in the job market and actually go to work, because the incentive we provide, they can provide things such as work boots or work clothes or whatever, just to help them get in.
Since the launch in January, the program has been delivered through Choices for Youth and Stella's Circle.
So that is the big game changer, is that people don't have to kind of face that difficult choice of, I want to go to work, I'm ready to go to work, but there's too much of a financial cliff for me, so I can't. So it removes that and gives people a better runway to attach the labor market in a way that works for them.
Pollitt has worked with some of the young people who've made use of the program through Choices for Youth. He says it's a creative way to help people transition to a better life. Everyone in the province who receives income support is now eligible. Janelle Kelly, CBC News, St. John's.
We're saying goodbye to the 20-degree temperatures for a little while, especially here in the metro area. We did see a little bit of sunshine today. Felt nice for the first half of the day, but our area of low pressure is moving offshore at the moment. But we are seeing some heavy rain for parts of the west coast, particularly around the Port-au-Port Peninsula, Stephenville area, where rainfall warning was issued this afternoon, saying about 40 to 60 millimeters, but from what I can find, only about 12 to 14 millimeters it looks like fell in the Stephenville area. That's all I have record of right now, but we can see that heavy rain at the moment is easing, but this rain will continue to head east as we head through the night tonight. We've got some gusty winds as well. Twillingate, Bonavista, all seeing sustained winds between 50 and 56 kilometers per hour. Factor in those wind gusts, more like 74. And if we take a look at the winds, doing a great job right now, 60 to 80. We'll see that head towards the northern portion of the Avalon through the night tonight. So it's going to be a windy morning tomorrow. I'll get into all the details when I come back.
Eugene Manning says he supports the moves made by New Brunswick and Saskatchewan to force schools to tell parents when a student wants to change their pronoun or use a different name. Now, that policy has faced criticism from LGBTQ groups who fear it could out trans kids to their parents and put their safety at risk. Manning is running for the PC leadership, and one of his supporters publicly stepped away from his campaign over the issue.
That issue hits home for me. I have 2 kids. Elliot is 6, just started grade 1 last week. The parents have a right to know what's going on with their children. We teach our children from the very beginning that there are no secrets from mom and dad, especially with another adult, that they're not going to share with the parents. And I feel strong on that. I know it might have cost me a few votes and cost me some support, but look, Peter, I think it's a difference. This is what I'm trying to do here. If I believe it, I'll say it. Me and you might not always agree, but you'll know where I stand.
Manning sat down with Here and Now's Peter Cowan to talk about his policies and his background. You can catch the profile later in the show. It's the first in a series we're doing with the PC leadership contenders. Well, in other news, there is something in the water around St. John's that shouldn't be there: turtles. And there's a new campaign to stop people from dumping their pets into local waterways. Elizabeth Whitten has the story.
The waterways of St. John's is home to plenty of wildlife, from fish to birds, but occasionally a turtle surfaces. Turtles are a non-native species in Newfoundland. There's a growing concern that people are tossing their unwanted aquatic pets into local rivers and ponds. So the Department of Fisheries and Oceans has launched a campaign. It's called Don't Let It Loose, and the message is clear: don't free your aquarium pets into the wild.
If they're released into the environment, they can cause a lot of damage because generally non-native animals have the potential to become invasive by damaging the environment. Because they have little predators, they can outcompete native species for both food and space.
These campaigns exist in other parts of the country, but are new here. DFO and Stewardship Association of Municipalities set up these signs. That's because people are reporting turtles, koi fish, and crayfish in ponds and rivers. Releasing these animals can be harmful to the animal as well as the ecosystem. Parents says it's unlikely the creatures can survive our cold winter, but if they do, they can cause a lot of damage.
When one of these ends up in the waterways, they may find themselves here at the Turtle Rest and Retirement Villa.
Hey, pretty girl.
It's run by Dennis Oliver. He's turned his basement into a water wonderland for these turtles. He's got 63. They've been surrendered by their owners for various reasons. He says the housing crisis means his organization is getting more requests for him to take in their pet turtles. Oliver is also involved with the Don't Let It Loose initiative. He and his turtles will be going to classrooms to raise awareness about the issue.
It doesn't matter if it's fish, it doesn't matter if it's turtle, it doesn't matter what it is. If it doesn't belong here, what are you doing letting it in the wild?
Oliver says he's thrilled with the new initiative, but would like to see better enforcement by the province on what animals are allowed into the province.
If you think that you're going to take one of these turtles and, I'm doing them a favor by letting them go, well, you're not, especially if you throw them into a river. A fast-moving body of water, you probably just kill that red ear slider.
Oliver is committed to turtles, but he warns not everyone can do it. Because these guys live for decades, he says not everyone can make a lifelong turtle commitment. Elizabeth Whitten, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the RNC has launched a tip line to gather information about graffiti on the Northeast Avalon. Police say they've been investigating several complaints of tagging. They're looking for whoever is spray painting Ace of Republic and other names. We have the tip line there up on your screen. Properties along Water Street were recently hit, along with a water tower in Paradise. The RNC says it has made several arrests related to spray painted graffiti in downtown St. John's since March. And this week is National Forest Week, a time to celebrate trees, take action on climate change, and connect with nature. Yesterday was the 13th National Tree Day, and today some employees of ExxonMobil in St. John's were out planting trees as part of a program with Tree Canada.
Today we're planting in the Hebron Way area by employees from ExxonMobil. We're planting about 50 birch here today and some white spruce, and it's an ideal spot. We're planting white spruce on the perimeter to reduce the snow that blows across the road here, and to beautify this area here with some hardwood species that'll turn nice and golden in the fall and will look nice throughout the whole year. We need to educate children that are coming along, so a big part of our program yesterday was a children education program. Make sure they know how to do it. We want to plant trees for the carbon and storage of carbon and our climate change possibilities that are happening all the time. And we want to make the awareness. Our Tree Canada slogan is growing better places to live, and that it's the well-being that people are talking about today, how the trees and planting of trees and getting out into the outdoors and everything is the important thing. Happy National Forest Week and a belated National Tree Day.
Oh, we've got wet 24 hours for some of us, but we've got lots of blue sky in behind that ridge of high pressure will move in. We'll talk about that and what it means when I come back.
This weather update is brought to you by Steamatic Canada, the undisputed choice in restoration. Don't panic. Call Steamatic.
Well, time for a look at the weather, and it was pretty nice in St. John's today. Cooler this morning, and things clouded over and got pretty wet this afternoon.
They did, yeah. It was nice walking the dogs this morning. They were enjoying the sunshine. I was enjoying the sunshine. I was also enjoying the relatively mild temperatures, because as we head through the next couple of days, that is going to change, and you're certainly going to notice that change tonight. Taking a look at what's going on temperature-wise across the province, only 8 degrees it topped out at today at St. Anthony. Same thing in Twillingate. The further away from that onshore flow, warmer temperatures, about 20 degrees in Cape Race today, 16 in Port aux Basques, and up across Labrador, you are still hanging on to those single-digit temperatures, except for Lab City, where you hovered around 11 degrees for most of the day today. And if we take a look at the conditions outside right now, some mist happening out there, some fog patches moving in as well. and also a little breezy. You can note the camera moving there a little bit with those winds gusting out of the north-northwest around 39 kilometers per hour. That is why we're seeing some of that drizzle as well. 11 degrees at the moment. And if we take a look at the current conditions across the province, really not seeing a whole lot of difference, but the temperatures are on their way down, especially tonight. So what we have going on right now is an area of low pressure offshore, lots of cloud cover and that northerly flow. The areas of low pressure spin counterclockwise, so we get that northerly flow when we see those areas of low pressure offshore. In behind that, lots of clearing skies. This ridge of high pressure is going to set up shop over the next couple of days, actually bringing some pretty lovely weather, it looks like. But until we get there, we're still going to deal with some showers tonight. That heavy rain that you were seeing on the Port Peninsula through Stephenville is going to end. It's already starting to taper to showers, but that shower activity will continue to march eastward as we head through the night tonight. And you can see some of those showers already making their way towards the Avalon, not really showing up on the radar picture, the moving radar picture anyway, but showing up on the still one there. And tonight we'll see the showers continue. Tonight, for the most part, they will end as we get into the overnight, and then eventually just some scattered showers towards the western portions of the island. We may even see some clearing skies as well up across Labrador. Most of you in the west anyway, and then eventually through central portions of Labrador, we'll see those clearing skies, and that will be the case towards the coast as well. Now, these clear skies and calm winds are going to allow the temperatures to drop tonight. Very chilly, 3 degrees in St. Anthony, 5 in Corner Brook, some of the coldest air that we've seen so far this year in some areas. Up across Labrador, no surprise, 0, -1 in Lab City tonight to about 2 degrees towards the coast. And again, we're going to note, you're going to notice, I should say, the breezy conditions along the northeast coast. So winds will pick up, especially even here in the metro area. We could be seeing northwesterly winds gusting between 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. But when we talk about these cold temperatures, we're talking about the risk of frost. Definitely in Lab West as your temperatures hover around -1 tonight, but really across the board. Northern Peninsula, low-lying areas through central. If you have any frost-sensitive plants that are you haven't harvested yet, you are definitely going to want to cover those up tonight. But other than that, as we head into tomorrow, we should generally see a clearing trend. We may hang on to the chance of a few showers in the morning, along with those gusty winds along the northeast coast. But towards the west coast, up across Labrador, and well, central and coastal areas of Labrador, we'll see nice tomorrow. But you're still going to hang on to that risk of showers for those of you in Lab West. Now, as far as temperatures are concerned for tomorrow, we are looking at those daytime highs, single digits, upper single digits, about 9 degrees in St. John's. That is well below where we should be sitting this time of year. Again, those breezy conditions, they'll ease though as we head right into the afternoon. You'll see those winds down to about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now, away from that northwesterly flow, it's still chilly, still very fall-like. Fall officially arrives on Saturday, but temperatures around 12 degrees for Fairland, Marystown. If you head towards central, 8 to 12 degrees for you as well. And then for the west coast, your temperatures will be somewhere between 11 to about 14 degrees through the day. Your winds out of the northwest around 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Single digits the story for the northern peninsula. Same thing for southeastern Labrador. You may get right into the double digits, but just barely. 10 degrees, maybe Mary's Harbour. And as far as the rest of Labrador is concerned, other than that chance of showers in Lab West, you should see that sunshine. And your temperature around 14 degrees for Happy Valley Goose Bay. Now, as we head into the long-range forecast, there is a bit of a warm-up for some of us. I'll get into that when I come back.
If you enjoy the music of the Irish Rovers, there's a new show for you. The Wild Rovers musical is based on the songs of the popular band. It will debut at the newly revived Majestic Theatre tomorrow night. CBC's Aoife Alaba had a chat with the actors and the musical director of the show.
For some people in St. John's, this building behind me might look familiar. Well, the Majestic Theatre has been closed for a really long time, but it is opening back up this Friday with a brand new show.
Hello, how are you now? My name is Maggie Devine, and I have walked this world over, peddling my wares and telling tall tales. And
for me, it's so exciting because I've been telling people that it's like a cross between The Princess Bride and The Muppets. You know, it's that really silly sort of fantasy fairy tale thing with really slapsticky, tongue-in-cheek, self-aware kind of humor. And so we're playing the Rovers, who are a band, and we go through this magical portal. We meet the Princess of Athunia, who's like hard on her luck. She has a quest for us to take on, and we're like, oh, well, we're here, so we might as well join you.
Okay.
And we are called
the Wild Rovers.
And we know all the good ones for a wedding.
In the beginning, it was a challenge, taking the music of the Irish Rovers and reimagining it into a fantasy fairy folktale. You know, you kind of have to wrap your brain around that. And once we got started, it has been the most joyous, incredible experience I've had in a long time in theater.
May our hearts be there with you wherever you go. Yes, we'll all sing together till it's time to go home.
If you know the music of the Irish Rovers, you know, you think about the content and the story and the sea shanties and the laments and all that kind of stuff, and all of a sudden you have a world with dragons and troll bridges, and I guess we're heightening it for theater. So we're using different instruments, you know, a different size band, and also just presenting the music in a different context.
Well, someone took a grapefruit, someone took a grapefruit. I wore it like a hat, wore it like a hat. I saw someone under my kitchen table talking to the old time cat.
The spirit of it is there, like we're trying to really capture that, and we've been given a real gift with the script. Like it allows for so much of that, so much just real emotion injected into songs that otherwise people don't consider to be super emotional. Like we've been able to take some of the more fun and silly songs and in this context make them a little bit more serious, and vice versa. So we've been actually quite lucky in that regard.
Oh, come on, boys, let's have a song. If it gets too tired, we'll have to spend the night in Springdale.
I think there's a bunch, and I think it's going to be a treat for the audience because I think they're going to experience a lot of these songs in a different way than they're used to hearing, just sonically, but, and you know, the heart that has gone into doing some of these. There's some that unexpectedly may break your heart. I'm not going to give them away.
Yes, we'll all sing together.
I think our city needs a venue like this, and I mean, I've played here before years ago, and it's really great to see it back open again. And I think, like, again, it's great for the community, and I think it's vital in the art scene in this town to have a space like this.
Community gardens like this one are a great way for people to grow cheap, nutritious food. Now, food has always been more expensive in northern Labrador, but a new survey shows just how much more expensive it is.
How can you provide supports to your family if you can't heat your house, if you can't feed your children?
That story is coming up.
Org.
NDP MHA Leela Evans is calling on the provincial government to reinstate a ferry used to deliver goods from Lewisport to northern Labrador. Evans believes a second ferry run could help tackle the growing food prices in that part of the province. A food price survey compiled by the Newfoundland and Labrador Nutritious Food Basket shows how much higher food prices are on the North Coast compared to the rest of the province. According to the survey, a family of 4 on the North Coast pays $467 per week, and compare that with $292 in eastern Newfoundland. I spoke with Evans about what she's hearing from residents in the north.
We understand price increases for, during COVID, and then you get into the food chain supply back online. Now what we're seeing huge increases. Like we've seen a 1-year increase of 18.5%, the highest in the province. And we were already paying, very high prices. So what people are afraid of and what they've experienced this past winter was that there's not enough money to heat your house, to be able to feed your family, to be able to have quality of life that we used to enjoy. It's not that we always struggled. There was periods when I was growing up, and I remember that, most people had decent quality of life. Mm-hmm. And now that's being eroded. And over the last 10 years, it's gotten really hard for people to be able to feed their families, and it's impacting people's mental health as well as their physical health, right?
Yeah, how are people coping with the prices, and what kind of choices are they making because of it?
Well, looking at this recent survey that just came out, it showed that, for a family of 4, it was costing at least $1,868 for a month to feed your family. And people have argued with me saying that it's even more than that. Mm-hmm. And that's $632 more a month than most people in Newfoundland and Labrador are paying. So to go to people now and say, okay, you're going to need to pay another $632. Mm-hmm. Where would you find that in your budget? When you look at my northern Labrador is 6 Inuit communities. And we look at all the past harms. People have learned about intergenerational trauma through the Truth and Reconciliation and the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. All that work has been done to show Canadians and Newfoundland and Labradorians how we've been harmed. And one of the things that this province has done is taken off our freight boat from the island for our food supply and our community needs. And we've seen an increase, even before COVID, we've seen an increase in our prices because of that.
That's the ferry that used to run from Lewisport to deliver freight up to the North Coast.
Yes, and every constituent that I've talked about has called up on me to speak out and try to get that freight boat back, so that they can have access to not affordable food, because our food has always been high, but right now they can't afford it. It's priced out of reach. So everybody is asking for the return of this boat.
Government does have, a ferry that spends about $15 million a year on the ferry. So adding another ferry again would be millions more. So do you think that's the answer?
I think that the government now is faced with their bad decision. They shouldn't have taken off that freight boat from the island. And yes, they did bring on another contract that put the freight and the passenger service together, out of Goose Bay, the RFP, but they didn't properly consult. They went after that decision was made to the communities, and now we're struggling with it, right? So instead of taking steps to to I guess, help the Indigenous people that's been harmed by past policies. They've actually brought in new policies that continue to harm us. So there can't be any reconciliation without ensuring we can feed our families, that we can heat our houses.
At a time when 1 in 5 Canadians don't have a family doctor, there's a debate raging about how long a family doctor's medical training should be. Right now, it's 2 years, but there's a move to add an extra year by 2027, raising fears of even more shortages. The CBC's Karen Pauls has more.
This idyllic cottage community is just 2 hours east of Winnipeg in northwestern Ontario. But it's still hard to lure family doctors to work here.
In rural areas, the family doctor, ER doctor, anesthetist, hospitalist, they're all the same people. So we are short across the board and just trying so hard to keep the services available for our patients, our families, our community members.
Dr. Sarah Giles worries plans to extend family medicine residency from 2 to 3 years will mean doctor shortages will get even worse in communities like this.
It's just going to prolong the process and we will have fewer graduates. It's a foreseeable disaster and it's an unnecessary disaster.
But the College of Family Physicians of Canada says patient needs are getting more complex, and 2 years of training isn't enough to cover everything family physicians will need to know in the community. Things like elder care, mental health and addictions, and Indigenous health.
It's really not in any way an indictment of current training. It's just more we need to keep up with the times and we need to make sure that our training kind of evolves.
The advocacy group representing 10,000 Canadian medical residents disagrees.
In the absence of a very well-defined, well-rationalized, evidence-based reason to extend training, that we cannot support any extension of training.
I do think that if the residency had been 3 years, I think it would have potentially impacted my decision to go into family medicine.
Dr. Zeke Blumenkrantz has been working as a family doctor since July.
In fairness, I don't think anything can really prepare you for independent practice. Doesn't matter how many years of residency or fellowships you do. I feel like after 2 years, I am quite well prepared to work as an independent family physician. You know, in the first 6 months of independent practice, you will likely learn more than you have in your entire residency.
Canada does have some of the shortest training for family doctors in the world, but some groups, like the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, say the training should actually be shorter, focusing on core skills and not longer. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Kenora, Ontario.
We're getting to know the candidates for the PC leadership race. I'm in Balleen talking to Eugene Manning. Find out his connection to this place coming up.
less than 2 weeks, voting will begin as the Progressive Conservative Party chooses a new leader. About 10,000 people have signed up to vote for one of 3 candidates running. Here Now's Peter Cowan is heading out into the community to get to know the candidates, what they stand for and what their goals are. And tonight we start with businessman Eugene Manning. Peter met up with him on a wharf in Balleen.
Okay, why are we here? What's significant for you about this harbour?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. This is my, this was the first job that I looked after start to finish as a project manager. I built the slipway here, actually of all things, a few years ago now. I think it was close on 20 years ago, but when you were trying to pick a location, I thought it was as good a place as any.
Tell me a bit about the work that you've been doing, because you went to school as an engineer, you've been building wharves. What's the company that you are involved with do?
So the company is J&E Enterprises, founded in 1983 actually. My father started the company and grew up in the business. Loaded my first truck when I was 5 on an excavator, so I don't know if that's kosher these days, but that's how we were brought up. So worked day in, day out, mainly wharves, breakwaters, infrastructure. Went off, like I said, did a civil engineering degree.
Speaking of family, the Manning last name, decently well known, I would say, in politics. A lot of people, and I'm sure you must get this question all the time, okay, how do you fit in with all the other Mannings that are involved in politics?
Well, look, we have our family, the Manning family, the Crean family on my mother's side, have spent years in politics and community service and things. So, yeah.
So Fabian Manning, the senator.
Oh, so Fabian Manning, the senator, that's my uncle.
Okay.
So my father's Eugene Manning. He's been the mayor of St. Bride's for going on 30 years now. Keep going, I'll tell you where they all fit.
Judy Manning, who was briefly a
Judy
minister.
Manning was Attorney General there for a bit. She's now National Councillor for the Conservative Party of Canada. That'd be my sister. She has a law practice in St. John's.
So it seems kind of inevitable that you would end up doing something with the Conservative Party.
Yeah, we've been involved in the party. I think my first PC convention, I was 3 or 4, I'd assume. We still have the collection of all the wine glasses. People remember that used to be the swag that used to come with them. So yeah, we've been in and around the party. I can remember putting up signs at the age of 5. One of my first memories, I think, was a rally for Tom Rideout back in the '89 election. So yeah, no, we've been around the party for decades.
It's very different from being behind the scenes and running a campaign and being the person out in front. What's been the biggest surprise or the biggest challenge that you found going from that backroom experience to being the front man?
I'm a project manager, I'm a business owner. I like to have my hands in everything. When you're out front and you're engaged and on the road and whatnot, you have to delegate and pass things off to the team behind, and I was president of the party for a number of years, so yes, on the back room, whether it be data or the mechanics of the campaign, letting go of that and passing that over to other members of my very capable team. It's been a challenge at times because I like to know where things are and how things are going. I like to keep my finger on the pulse, and I'm doing that, but realizing that you can't be everywhere and you have to delegate and find good people, I guess, you know, it's everything. You're better at it some days than others.
Okay, now that we've gotten to know you a little bit, I want to ask you about some of the policy questions and some of the things that you might do if you're given the chance to lead the party and maybe even eventually the province. I want to talk about party support because you're asking members to come and vote for you. When you look at the caucus, you've got 2 of the MHAs supporting you, but if you look at, for example, Tony Wakeham, he's got 5 of them on his team. If you're not able to convince the majority of the caucus to support you, what makes you think you'll be able to convince the majority of the party?
Well, look, I think the issue there is, and I was glad to have Helen join the team, Helen Conway-Ottenheimer and Paul Dean, as you mentioned, both great friends. I have great relationships with a number of people in caucus, and I don't think there's a wrong choice in this race. I just think there's a different choice between the 3 candidates who put their name forward. So I've had great relationships, great conversations. Everyone had to make a decision. All of caucus has made that decision. Some support has come my way, some support has gone to my other competitors as well.
You mentioned that there's a different choice here. Through most of the campaign, it's not just you, but all of the candidates, it almost seems like you're running against Andrew Furey because that's who, you know, a lot of the conversation is about, as opposed to differentiating yourself from the other candidates. What makes you different from the other 2 people that are in this race?
Well, what makes me different is, look, Peter, I'm younger. Not as young as I think I am, but, you know, I'm 40 years of age. I have a young family. I've been a small business owner for the past, really, about going on 20 years now. And I'm living it. I'm in the community every day. My competitors, as you mentioned, are members of the House. Their background is different than mine. I have, as I put it, I have an insider's knowledge with an outsider's mind. I mean that I've been in the back rooms for years. I've managed more campaigns, and the biggest challenge I find is that once people get elected, they change their tune overnight. and they'll talk about one thing and say, we can't say that because we won't get elected or people don't want to hear it. I think people are ready to hear the truth or ready to admit things we can do and things we can't do. Part of leadership is being able to say, no, we don't have the resources for that, or that's going to be a challenge for us. Just admit it. It can't all be, everything can't be a yes to everyone.
So what is a no? What is something that we're either doing right now that we shouldn't be, or like what's that area that you would say no to?
This year we're borrowing $1.6 billion. We have $7 billion coming due in debt that we acquired in the 90s in the next 5 years. No one talks about it. I mean, we can't continue to spend beyond our means. Some of the challenges we have, whether it be healthcare, cost of living, all of these things, the challenge is that it's another government rebate, it's more money for this, more money for that. There are other ways to be doing things. It doesn't have to be a cut, it doesn't have to be a no, but it has to be a new approach. Some of these things got to be broken down and started from the ground up. And until you acknowledge it, instead of just trying to throw another couple of million at this to get through this week, we got to be worried about next month, next year. I mean, we have problems coming at this province, and a lot of them are already here. And it seems like we address it in the short term, but no one is looking out saying, we can't afford that in 5 years, 10 years.
Healthcare has been one of the areas that we have been increasing our spending, various bonuses to try and recruit doctors and nurses and things like that. What would you do differently if you were running the government that would address some of those shortfalls, especially for things like people who can't get family doctors?
Look, it's a huge issue. Family care providers, primary care providers, I think it's 150,000 Newfoundland and Labradorians now don't have a primary care provider. We need to expand the scope of practice for nurse practitioners, for pharmacists. We have to help clear the backlog there. I have no doubt.
But hasn't the government already done that? There's a whole list of things that pharmacists, for example, can now do. They're adding nurse practitioners into these collaborative clinics.
They are, and they've expanded their scope, but not to the full extent of training that those professionals have. Beyond that, I believe our government, look, I'm not here saying if Andrew Fiore had doctors available, I believe they'd be. I believe they are trying their best. We have a shortage in Newfoundland and Labrador. We have a shortage in Canada. We have a shortage across the world. But what has to happen, once again, is more money. If we're all going to be bidding on the same doctors, Alberta, Ontario, these other provinces are going to be able to outbid us. They have a larger economy and larger resources. What we have to do is step back, and we have to look at it and say, let's not let great be the enemy of the good. We have to make use of the resources we have, and we have to take a new approach, whether that be through telemedicine or, like to your point, expanding the scope or getting more beds for long-term care so we can move people out of acute care. There's numerous things that we can be working on here in the province that we're not doing right now.
I want to ask you about the relationship with the federal party. And you were at some events with Pierre Poilievre. I want to ask you, in what ways are you similar, or do your views align, and in which ways are you different?
With Pierre Poilievre?
Yeah, and the federal Conservatives.
With the federal Conservatives, well, first of all, to be clear, I'm here seeking the leadership of the PC party of Newfoundland and Labrador, and I've been a volunteer and a member of this party for decades. I'm also a member of the Conservative Party of Canada, I believe, since its founding. And I would say a lot of the policies that the Conservative Party of Canada has relating to Newfoundland and Labrador, I had a strong part in crafting those, whether that be opposition to Bill C-69, which is now has Bay du Nord on the shelf, whether that be championing our liquefied natural gas and trying to get that terminal built in Placentia Bay, or support for our seal hunt. But as it relates to the federal party, I think that a strong federal representative in Ottawa, and as someone who understands and realises the challenges of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, is going to be good for this province. The next Prime Minister of Canada is going to be Pierre Poilievre or Justin Trudeau. Who do we think best represents our values right now and what we need here as a province? Is it the carbon tax and Justin Trudeau, or is it someone who, like Pierre Poilievre, who is speaking about the cost of living and housing and all the challenges that you already just mentioned?
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about your political future, irregardless of what happens on October 14th. Will you run in the next election, even if you aren't chosen as the next leader?
Yes, I plan to run the next election when it comes, even if I am not chosen as the next leader.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing some of your thoughts.
I appreciate the time.
With just a short 3 months to go, a British toy retailer has decided to unveil its top Christmas toys for this year. Oh boy, some of us may be saying no, no, no to that ho, ho, ho. The store opened its doors for children to try out its top 10 toys at a special event today. And one toy that seems to be an instant hit is the flying fairy. And while the snow was obviously fake, Santa appeared to be quite real. And these kids didn't seem to mind that for them. Christmas came this early. Very early indeed. And I'm still processing the fact that tomorrow is the last full day of summer.
That's right. It's really not that far away. It's right around the corner.
Oh my
We'll be
goodness.
here before we know it, and I better start shopping now or else I'm not.
Oh, no, I can't even think about it yet. Every year I say I try to get out early and then
you don't.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see this year.
Yeah, well, temperatures though over the next couple days, they are going to feel very fall-like.
Really?
Not quite, snow weather, although tonight's temperatures might. Let's take a look at where we're at for your Friday. So we're going to see clear skies again through the evening hours on Friday. That is going to allow the temperatures to drop yet again, single digits, maybe even below zero for some areas. But we are going to see some showers roll through Labrador as we head into the morning hours, and then eventually for the northern peninsula, west coast of the island as well through the morning. Otherwise, South Coast and even the Avalon is going to stay fairly nice. We should see some sunshine through a good chunk of the afternoon. As we head into the evening, better chance of some showers. They'll head through central and maybe even along the northeast coast as well. But it is going to stay unsettled up across a good portion of the big land. Temperatures are going to recover a little bit. So we're back up to about 15 to 19 degrees through the day. If we see the sunshine, that is certainly going to feel nice. And then as far as Labrador is concerned, you're going to say goodbye to the single digits, at least for Saturday. But you're looking at daytime highs between 11 and about 15 or 16 degrees towards the Strait as well. Now, as we head into the evening hours on Saturday and then into Sunday, another round of showers will move through the overnight period. And then as we head into Sunday morning, we should see some sunshine again through the afternoon. We may see some lingering showers for the western portion of the island, but up across Labrador, your skies should stay gray, and you're also looking at that chance to shower. So unsettled conditions pretty much through the weekend, although the sun should peek out through central portions of Labrador and then towards the coast as well. Your temperatures back down to the single digits, hanging around 11 to 13 for the rest of the big line. And then we're down a little bit across the island, but this is right where we should be sitting this time of year, between 15 and 16 degrees island-wide, but St. Anthony will hover around 13 degrees as your daytime high on Sunday. Now the long-range forecast after Sunday dropping again down to about 10 to 12 degrees for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. Some showers to start Monday, and then we should see some clearing skies Tuesday. At this point looks nice, very fall day. 12 degrees, and your overnight lows dipping into the single digits again. For central Newfoundland, you're looking at some shower activity on Sunday, but some sunshine still in the mix. Monday and Tuesday at this point look absolutely beautiful, 12, 13 degrees. And then for western Newfoundland, similar forecast there for you with some sunshine by the time we get into Monday. Now for Labrador, you're looking at the east anyway. Showers on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday looking beautiful. Uptick in the temperatures, 13 to about 16 through Tuesday. Western Labrador, showers on Sunday, but both Monday and Tuesday are looking beautiful. Now,
oh wow,
it's berry picking season.
What a haul.
That's a nice haul there. Thank you so much to Mike for sharing this great shot with us. If you have any photos from your berry picking adventures, we'd love to see it. And if you'd like to send them, you can send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, classic butter tubs there.
That's right.
Very nice. I wonder what they will make with those berries. Will it be muffins? Will it be a pie?
Blueberry pie.
So many options. Delicious.
One of those tubs in my freezer right now.
Yep, I have a few of them too. It's great with yogurt and some granola too.
Yummy.
All right, well, that's it for us on this Thursday evening. Tomorrow's Friday.
Tomorrow is Friday.
Yeah. All right, have a great night.
Good night.